Okay, thanks once again for returning to Classic Dirtbike TV as we continue to take a look at the rest of the racing highlights from the Scottish Classic Round 1 race event from Finavon Hill here in Forfar. So let's jump straight into our next race, which will be race 6, and this is the pre-1984s up to and under 250cc. So it looks like everybody is all lined up and almost good to go. We're just waiting on our official starter, Stuart Riddle, letting the bikes loose from the line. As you can see, it's still bitterly cold and windy here at Finavon Hill, but as they leave the line, it's a good start there by Jim Grieve on the 250 red Rocket. John Stokes has also made a good start in second position, and Graham Smith is in third on his IT 250 Yamaha. So as the riders come towards us, it's still number 1 Jim Grieve, your race leader. Second is John Stokes on the CR 250 Honda as they make their way up Finavon Hill for lap 1. Jim Grieve looking good at this point in the race. So it's still number 1 Jim Grieve, your race leader. Number 151 is John Stokes in second. Number 233 is Graham Smith. Number 17 there is Mike van der Meer. That's Andy Malik just going through there on his 250 Montesa Capra. As we take a look at one of the marshals there, that's Mike Bell. Number 334 is Kevin Smith on that lovely 1983 Myco 250 Spider. And these two riders did have quite a good scrap in the first couple of races here at Finavon, and it looks like they're at it once again, but it's still Jim Grieve trying to fend off John Stokes on the CR 250 Honda. So this has all the hallmarks of another good race between these two very quick riders. And as you can see, it doesn't take these guys too long to complete a lap of this Forfar racetrack. 6 laps, of course, for the pre-1984 bikes, while the vintage machines have 4 laps of this track. But it's still Jim Grieve, number 1, who's being chased by John Stokes. John Stokes trying to go round the outside, but couldn't make it stick at that particular point. So Jim Grieve riding very well on that 250 red Rocket. And we're looking at number 10, that's Gary Bucket, riding his quite nice looking 250 Husqvarna. And this round 1 event here at Finavon Hill is the first of a 7-round championship for the Scottish Classic Motorcycle Racing Club. So our last event, I think, this year will be in September. So if you need any information with regards dates and entry forms, etc., then just log on to their website at classicscrambles.com. And so as our 2 race leaders cross the line to complete another lap, it looks like John Stokes is going to pass Jim Grieve for that pole position. And as they head up the hill, it is in fact John Stokes, your new race leader, with Jim Grieve now in second position. As we take a look at number 52, that's Billy Porteous on his quite nice looking YZ 250 Yamaha. Billy going well on his 250. So here's your new race leader as he comes round to complete another lap. Number 151, John Stokes on the CR250 Honda. Jim Grieve, number 1, is riding that quite quick 250 Honda Red Rocket. An iconic machine, of course, from the late 1970s, and it seemed that everybody and their dog wanted one of these Red Rockets when they were released in the late 1970s. Number 43 there is Andy Malik on his Montesa 250 Capra, another one of those quite rare bikes that you seldom see taking part in classic or vintage racing these days, but Andy certainly makes good use of this old Montesa. And just coming towards us there is number 334, that's Kevin Smith on that almost original 1983 250 Micro Spider. But we're back with our race leader, number 151, John Stokes, as he crosses the line to complete yet another lap. It looks like he's made a bit more distance to his second place man, Jim Grieve. Number 233 there is Graham Smith on his IT 250 Yamaha. A big tall lad is Graham, like myself, and Graham to me always seems like he's sitting on the back mudguard of the bike rather than the seat, but that's probably due to his 6 foot plus stature. So there's your second placed rider, Jim Grieve, number 1, and John Stokes coming round again to complete another lap. So it's quite a quick lap, as you can see here at Finavon Hill, but John Stokes certainly going well on this 250 CR Honda. Number 10 there again is Gary Bucket on his 250 Husqvarna. These riders, of course, just coming round to begin their last and final lap of the race, but it looks like John Stokes has got a bit of a problem with the Honda. It looks like John's maybe went through the track tapes, so that will promote this man here, Jim Grieve, to the race leader, and this of course is the last and final lap. So it looks like Jim Grieve is going to steal this win from John Stokes. I don't know what happened to John. He's maybe went through the tapes, or the chain has maybe come off the bike, but it's a win for Jim Grieve, and it looks like John's going to still cross the line in second place. But a bit of a shame really, because John was going really well in this race, but looks like he's going to have to settle for the runner-up this time round. So that brings us on to race 7, which is the combined pre-1977s and pre-1989 125s. With that bitterly cold wind still howling across the track here at Forfar, and you may be able to hear it in the audio on the video, but it is bitterly cold, but it looks like we're good to go. So as the riders leave the line, it's a good start there again from Sam Sybil there, number 24 on that big TT 500 4-stroke Yamaha. It looks like everybody's safely away from the line as they head to the far side of the track. So as our race leaders come towards us, it's still number 24, Sam Sybil, who is leading the pre-77 part of this race, and you've probably by now worked out that there isn't too many pre-77 bikes in this particular race, but we certainly could do with a lot more pre-1977 bikes racing here at the Classic Club. So maybe if you have an old twin shocker lying around in the garage that you'd like to get back on the track, then we'd certainly like to see your old pre-1977 bikes racing here with the Scottish Classic Club. So we're looking at number 416 there, that's Mike McClurty, although he's in second position on the track, he's leading the pre-1989 125s part of this combined race. And just coming towards us is number 88, that's Billy Pentland on that nice 1975 250 Montesa that we had a look at in the paddock. But our front pairing of number 24, Sam Sibbald on the TT500 Yamaha, and number 416, Mike McClurty on that little CR125 Honda, and it looks like Mike has managed to get past Sam Sibbald's bike. So as I said, both of these riders leading their respective classes. But as you can see, Sam Sibbald is quite quick on that TT500. Sam's a very experienced rider. I can remember watching Sam racing in the schoolboy days of the BSA Bantams. So he's vastly experienced at this kind of racing. Number 17 just going through there is Mike van der Meer, and number 254 is John Miller. We're taking a look at number 14, that's Brian Hamilton on his, I think it's a TT or XT 500 Yamaha that Brian's riding. So up at the front we have this man here, number 416, Mike McClurty on the CR125 Honda, a very quick little machine. And I remember Mike was telling me in the paddock that he's not 100% fit for this race here at Forfar, because he was taking part in one of these big modern races and had a slight accident, so he's still trying to get back to fitness. Number 78 there is young Peter Martin, also riding CR125 Honda, and you may remember we took a look at this bike as well in our paddock walkabout when Peter and his father brought along three very nice Honda 125s for us to take a look at. That's Billy Pentland once again on his 1975 250 Montesa, one of two bikes that Billy tells me he's just recently acquired. But it's still Mike McClurty who is your race leader as he crosses the line to start his last and final lap. So Mike looking very comfortable at this stage. And just coming through to start their last and final lap, it's number 254, that's John Miller there, being chased by number 17, that's Mike van der Meer. But it looks like it's going to be another well-deserved win in the pre-1989 125 class for this man here, number 416, Mike McClurty, as he comes round to take the checkered flag, and coming through in second place, it should be also a win for Sam Sibbald in the pre-1977s. So next up we're into race 8 for the pre-1984s over 250cc. Some quick riders in this race. Number 124 there is James Haddo, number 25 is Craig Smith, number 18 is Jim Colligan, number 233 in the yellow there is Graham Smith on the RM Suzuki, number 2 is multiple Scottish twin shock champion, that's Paul Chiappa, number 19 is Gordon Forbes. So quite a talented lineup of riders. We take another look at number 124, James Haddo on that big CR 500 Honda, but it looks like we are just about ready to go. So as it leaves the line once again, another stormer of a start by number 25, that's Craig Smith. So as we begin lap 1, it's number 25, Craig Smith, with the early advantage over number 2, Paul Chiappa. So Craig Smith is your early race leader. In third position there is David Loudon, number 75 on the YZ465 Yamaha. Jim Colligan is in fourth position, and young James Haddle on that big CR500 Honda looks like he's going to move up a position by passing Jim Colligan. Number 19, Gordon Forbes, just making his way through to start lap 2. And number 233 again is big Graham Smith on the RM400 Suzuki bike. But it looks like a good scrap developing here between number 25, Craig Smith, who is your race leader, and number 2, Paul Chiappa, with the 490 Michael with the green number plates on it. A lot of people seem to think that this was a 250 because of those green backgrounds on the bike, but it's certainly a 490. As we take a look at number treble 7 just going through there, I think that's Alan Thane, who is quite a newcomer to the Scottish Classic Racing Club. But number 2 again is Paul Chiappa in second position, as we take a look at the battle for third and fourth between David Loudon, number 75, and young James Haddle at number 124. Now it certainly looks like number treble 7, Alan Thane, is ahead of number 25, Craig Smith, but I don't know where Alan actually came from, because I don't think he was at the start of this race, so he's maybe joined this race later on. But I still think it's Craig Smith, number 25, who is your race leader. But certainly from my perspective, it is still Craig Smith, number 25, who is the leader of this race, and Paul Chiappa is currently in second position. So we see Craig coming down the steps once again to complete another lap. Paul Chiappa is certainly in second position, but Alan Thane certainly looks quick on that what looks like a 1979 or a 1978 Michael, as he begins another racing lap. So it's still the man from Dunfermline, number 25, Craig Smith, your race leader. Paul Chiappa is in second. Alan Thane could possibly be in third position, but don't quote me on that particular fact, because as I said, I didn't see Alan at the start of this race. As we take a look at number 124, that's in James Haddle on the CR500 Honda. Quite a big step up for this young man, because last year he was racing a little CR125 two-stroke Honda. But it's still number 25, Craig Smith, who is your race leader. Craig riding absolutely superbly here at Finavon Hill. Paul Chiappa doing his very best there, number 2, to catch up to Craig Smith. But Paul is a veteran of motocross now. I think he'll be heading for about 65 years old now, so he's been round the circuit quite a few times, so to speak. But here's Craig Smith coming down the steps to cross the line to begin another lap. So Craig Smith going really well on this black 490 Michael. So as Craig just crosses the line, this will be his last lap of this pre-1984 over 250s class race. Paul Chiappa still in a good position there in second. But Craig Smith certainly in excellent form here at Finavon Hill, the full-time gas engineer. So that's what Craig does for his daytime job, but of course he likes to take his old Michael out at the weekend and take part in these vintage races. So it's going to be another win for number 25 Craig Smith as he takes the checkered flag, and it's going to be Paul Chiappa who comes across the line to take that second place position, and it's going to be David Loudon, number 75, who's going to take third with Alan Thane in fourth. And that brings us quite nicely on to race 9, which is another combined formula between the pre-1968s up to and over 350cc and the pre-75s up to and over 300cc. These are basically the vintage class of the Classic Club, with of course each formula getting 3 races in the first part of the day's programme and another 3 races after the lunchtime break. So we're good to go as our starter Stuart Riddle leaves them from the line, and it looks like another good start by Darrell Wiley on that 4-stroke Honda. So we're just going to pick up our race leaders as they come round to complete lap 1. It's number 4 Robert Kennedy once again on the 1975 Clues CCM. Liston Bell is in second position on the big Jawa, and it's Derek Macaulay on that little 252-stroke Bull Taco, and it quite amazes me how Derek can still hang with these big 4-stroke machines when he's riding such a little 250 bike. But it looks like Liston Bell has already taken the lead from Robert Kennedy, who is now in second position, with Derek Macaulay now in third. And as you can see, the track here at Finavon in absolutely perfect condition, despite the howling winds and the bitterly cold temperatures. But the track is absolutely fantastic as Liston Bell crosses the line to complete another lap as we take a look at number 4 Robert Kennedy. And as I said, this was a bike that Robert's late father used to race with the Classic Club a few years ago, and it's good to see that Robert's making good use of his old race machine. So it's still Robert Kennedy number 4 in second position, and Derek Macaulay is still managing to keep with Robert Kennedy on that 500 CCM. So even although Derek's riding that little 250 Bull Taco, he's still managing to stay with these guys at the front. But it's Liston Bell number 98 who is your race leader, riding that big single cylinder Jawa machine. It should be Robert Kennedy who's going to come through in second position. And just coming towards us are a couple of nice Czechoslovakian CZs. Number 118 is Kenny Harper, and number 49 there is Ian Marr on his immaculately turned out CZ. So here's your race leader coming round to complete his last but one lap of this race. It's number 98 Liston Bell. And it looks like Liston's had a bit of an off-track excursion because he has a few of the track marker tapes wrapped around that back wheel. But we're looking at the battle of the CZs once again between number 49 there, Ian Marr, and just behind Ian is Kenny Harper. So both the CZs now starting their last and final lap of this pre-68 combined race. So it certainly looks like Liston Bell is going to make it a hat-trick of wins in the first half of today's programme. So that's win number 3 for 98 Liston Bell, and it looks like it's going to be Robert Kennedy on that 1975 CCM who is going to cross the line in second position, and it looks like he's well chuffed about it as well. So now we're moving on to race 10, which is of course the pre-1984s up to and under 250 cc, and as you can see, not a bad turnout of 250s for this race, but look out for the likes of John Stokes, number 151, and number 1 Jim Grieve, who did well in the previous 2 races, but as they leave the line it looks like it's John Stokes and Jim Grieve once again who are going to hit the front of this 250 race. And so as they come towards us on lap 1, it is number 1 Jim Grieve, your race leader. Number 151 John Stokes is second. Number 17 Mike van der Meer is in third. Number 43 Andy Mallock is in fourth, riding that Montesa 250 Capra. But as they make their way down from Finavon Hill, it's still Jim Grieve, number 1, being pursued by number 151, that's John Stokes on the CR250 Honda. Jim Grieve, of course, riding that 250 Red Rocket. So that's lap 1 completed for this front pairing of John Stokes and Jim Grieve. And just in case you're interested, the next race event for the Classic Club will be round 2, which will be held at Cumston Farm in Lockerbie on the 4th of May. But if you're thinking of coming along or maybe even racing at one of the Scottish Classic events, then just visit their website at classicscrambles.com, where you can find all of the dates and any information that you require. But as our 2 race leaders cross the line, it's still Jim Grieve, number 1, who leads John Stokes, but it looks like John Stokes is going to go round the outside and make that track position stick. So it's now John Stokes, your race leader, as we take a look at Billy Porteous just making his way through there on his 250 Yamaha. So we'll just keep our eye on our new race leader, John Stokes, who's already opened up a bit of a gap to Jim Grieve on his 250 Red Rocket. So this track obviously suiting John Stokes as he crosses the line to complete another lap. Jim Grieve is still in second position there on the Red Rocket. Number 17 there is Mike van der Meer, riding his 1981 250 Michael this time. Of course, Mike was out on his little 125 CR Honda in a previous race, so he's now out on the twin shock Michael. Billy Porteous just making his way through there, and number 27 is Mike Doby, who's also riding a Honda Red Rocket. So this has been a fantastic start to the season for this man here, number 151, John Stokes, as he completes another lap. 6 laps, of course, for the pre-1984 bikes, and just 4 laps for the vintage classes. So John Stokes is still your race leader. If we take a look at number 43, that's Andy Mallock. on his 250 Montesa Capra. And number 791 there is Stephen McWhirter. Looks like Stephen's riding an old 1980 250 Michael, a similar bike to what I rode myself back in the day. But here's your second placed rider, Jim Grieve, who also looks like he's been through the track marker tapes. He's got quite a bunch of tape wrapped around the rear hub of that Honda Red Rocket. Number 27 is Mike Doby. Mike, of course, again is riding a Red Rocket, being chased by number 52. That's Billy Porteous on his YZ 250 Yamaha. But I do have some quite big events lined up already for 2023, and we'll be covering the Big West Moorland Kendall Classic Revival Scramble at the end of April. Then we'll have the Drumlandrig Festival of Sport weekend in the middle of May, and then of course in June we'll be making our usual pilgrimage to Northern Ireland for that 2-day charity scramble. So quite a lot of bikes and racing for you to take a look at in the first part of this year's championships. So we're just taking a look at number 17, Mike van der Meer, who's beginning his last and final lap of this race. But here's your race leader coming round to take the checkered flag, and this will be win number 3 for John Stokes on that very quick CR 250 Honda. And hopefully it will be this man here, number 1, Jim Grieve, who's going to take that runner-up position in second. So that brings us to our penultimate race for this round 1 event here at Forfar, race 11, the pre-1977s and pre-1989 125s. And as you can see, a quite good collection of bikes there. You can see Billy Pentland there on his little Can-Am, Brian Hamilton there, number 14 on the 4-stroke Yamaha bike. But number 78 is Peter Martin, and there you can see Mike van der Meer also out on his 125 this time round. But as they leave the line, we'll just pick up our race leader, which of course is number 416. That's Mike McClurty, just making his way through. Second position is number 254, which is John Miller. Number 14 is Brian Hamilton on that 4-stroke Yamaha. And I think this is number 24. That's Sam Sibbald, who is currently leading the pre-1977 part of this race. As I said earlier, not too many pre-1977s in this actual race, but we certainly could do with more of that particular class of bikes here with the Classic Club. But this man here is certainly a veteran of motocross, Sam Sibbald, because I have seen Sam coming through the ranks when he used to race at the Scottish Formula Bantam Club as a schoolboy, so he's got plenty experience for these kind of racetracks. So just coming towards us there, I think that's number 254 again, John Miller. Number 78 is Peter Martin, another one of those nice little CR125s that we took a look at in the paddock video. But it doesn't look like there's going to be anybody quick enough to catch this man today, number 416, Mike McClurty. As we take a look at Peter Martin again, number 78, coming through to complete another lap, but it looks like Mike van der Meer has some kind of coolant system problem with his CR125 Honda. It's certainly billowing plenty steam or smoke, but it looks like a coolant problem to me. And of course, if Mike just continued with his 250 Micro, he wouldn't have that sort of problem, of course. So as he comes towards us, there's certainly some kind of mechanical issues with Mike's bike, so hopefully it will last the entire length of this race, and hopefully will not do any irreparable damage. But it certainly looks like Mike already knows that there's some kind of problem with the engine. He has had a couple of look downs to see what's going on, but obviously you can't see that steam or smoke billowing from the back of the bike. But as he starts his last and final lap, hopefully he'll make it to the finish line. So we're back with our leader of the pre-1977 class. It's Sam Sibbald, number 24 on the TT500 4-stroke Yamaha. So this has been another good afternoon for Sam Sibbald, but Mike van der Meer is still slipping and sliding his way around this Finavon racetrack. And I think that bike there is on a vape of some kind. So as Mike van der Meer comes round to take the checkered flag, looks like he's going to make it back to the paddock, but hopefully there won't be too much damage done to that little Honda 125 motor. Might just be something simple like maybe a loose coolant hose. Okay, that brings us to the last and final race from this round 1 event here at Finavon. It's race 12, the pre-1984 over 250s cc, and this is the big boys of the Scottish Classic Club, the big 490s and 500s. So hope you've enjoyed much of the racing highlights from this round 1 event here at Finavon. We're just looking at our race starter, Stuart Riddle, taking up position just to make sure all the riders are good to go. So as they leave the line, another cracking start by Paul Chiappa, this time number 2. So it looks like Paul's got the jump on Craig Smith, so we'll see how this develops as the laps count down. So as they come towards us, it's still number 2 Paul Chiappa who leads number 25 Craig Smith. It's David Loudon, number 75, who is third. James Haddo is fourth. 233 is Graham Smith. Number 43 is Andy Mallock, and number 58 there is Ian Clark. So as the riders come round to complete lap 1, it's still Paul Chiappa who leads Craig Smith. Now remember, Craig Smith has already won 2 races in this class, so he'll be hoping to have a hat-trick of wins if he can manage to get past Paul Chiappa, number 2. Third place is still David Loudon on the Yamaha YZ465. Number 124 is James Haddo on the big CR500 Honda, who is currently in 4th. So as we look to the far side of the track, it's still the veteran racer, number 2 Paul Chiappa, who leads Craig Smith. Number 75 is David Loudon. And remember, David is just really getting back to fitness after an injury last year, so David going absolutely fantastic here at this round 1 event. But Craig Smith breathing down the back there of number 2 Paul Chiappa, so it's the two 490s, but Craig Smith dives down the inside, so it's Craig Smith first with Paul Chiappa in second position. But remember, we have 6 laps of this Finavon track for these bigger pre-1984 bikes. David Loudon is still in third, and it's James Haddo there in 4th place. It looks like Gordon Forbes is parked up track side there, number 19, so it looks like Gordon's got some kind of mechanical issue with his big 490 Michael. But both these riders, Craig Smith number 25 and Paul Chiappa number 2, of course, are the best of pals really, and they even travel to these events together. But as you can see, once they get out on the track, it's there's certainly no love lost, and it's every man for themselves. But Craig Smith looks like he's heading towards a hat-trick of wins in the pre-1984 class, and he's riding absolutely superbly here at Finavon. But Paul Chiappa is still in there with a shout if he can just get a bit closer. And it's actually quite hard to believe that this man is heading for almost 65 years old now. He's still as quick as he ever was on one of these 490 Michaels. But it's Craig Smith who looks like he's going to be the champ of this pre-1984 class here at Finavon as he comes round to complete another racing lap. Paul Chiappa still in there in second position. Owner of Dunfermline Motorcycles, of course, who's just recently closed the shop and retired, so Paul's got plenty more time now to enjoy his racing and some of his classic road bikes. Just coming towards us there, number 75 is David Loudon. If we take another look at 124, that's James Haddo, who is riding a CR500 this year, when only last season he was riding one of those little 125 Honda machines. But Craig Smith just coming down from the hillside here at Finavon. Paul Chiappa is still in second position. And this round 1 event is more or less always held at this Finavon racetrack at the beginning of each classic racing season, and the track is always in perfect condition when we turn up for this event. I don't think we've ever had a bad race meeting at Finavon. So that's just some of the other riders making their way across the line. Number 43 is Andy Malak, who was out with his 250 Montesa in a previous race, and this time round he's riding his 1983 500 Armstrong machine. But this man here has hardly put a foot wrong all day. Craig Smith, number 25, and Craig looking very comfortable at this point for his third race win of the day. Paul Chiappa is still in second position, but it doesn't look like Paul is going to manage to catch up to Craig as they cross the line to start their last and final lap of this pre-1984 race. David Loudon is still in third position, being pursued by number 124 James Haddo. And just coming towards us there is number 8, that's Andy Bernard, who looks like he's on a little Suzuki bike, or a big Suzuki bike. Andy Malak, number 43, just close behind there on the 500 4-stroke Armstrong bike. So here's your race leader as he comes to take the checkered flag. It's going to be the third win of the day for Craig Smith, number 25, and it's going to be Paul Chiappa, number 2, is going to finish in second. So that more or less brings to an end all of the racing highlights from this round 1 scramble event at Finavon Hill Forfar. So I do hope you've enjoyed looking at some of the bikes around the paddock and of course seeing them here on the racetrack. But we will be doing a similar setup when we head out to our next vintage race event, which will be the Kendal Classic Revival Scramble, which will be next weekend. So if you're going to that event, I'll see you there. But from all of us here at Finavon Forfar, it's goodbye for now.